Bins like these hold thousands of bushels of grain, and it only takes a matter of seconds to become dangerous. Folks here in the neighborhood of South Holland and Doris Street say early Saturday morning they heard 4 gunshots ring out, coming outside to find at least one hitting this house. We begin with news out of McCracken County this morning, where a Paducah man sits in jail for arson. And they can appear out of nowhere and do some serious damage to your car. Potholes seem to be everywhere this time of year. It wasn't until I hit about north of Cambria that it seemed like those snowflakes, they were about the size of baseballs trying to drive through.
Yeah, it was.
Post on social media is the cause for the heightened police presence here at DuQuoin District 300, showing just how impactful modern technology can be. And even now, Carbondale police continue to offer a $6,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest in this heartbreaking case. Live in Carbondale, Collin Dorsey, News 3. Kind of moving into that weather season where we could see some severe weather, and it looks like we could see some tonight. Police in Murfreesboro are investigating an incident that sent one of their officers to the hospital. Cybersecurity, it's becoming talked about more and more, and nearly a dozen teams from across Illinois took part in a statewide cyber defense competition. Not just about agility and speed, this one adds another element: wheels. These potential changes mean that SIU could go from something like this to something like this. Illinois politics. Illinois Governor Bruce Rauner released a budget proposal to the state legislature earlier this week detailing reforms to the pension system and a call for lower income tax. Those proposals have a statewide impact, but News 3's Andrew Feather went through the budget proposal line by line to find items that could have an impact right here in Southern Illinois. The search for a missing Highland man ended yesterday when authorities found his body in a creek across that field. The street on SIU's campus can prove dangerous in crosswalks just like these, especially when these come into play. One wrong move in the game of checkers can change the entire game. Here at the Fort Massac encampment, people are getting the chance to see what life was like in early America.
Tougher than you and I can handle.
Life over 200 years ago was tough, especially in early America torn by conflict. Hundreds of historical reenactors poured into Fort Massac to show just what that was like. Folks like Mark Lindner say early years in Illinois were tough and militia groups kept people safe.
Would have more or less been on our own, or would have attached to a military group as scouts or skirmishers, whatever you want to call them.
But not all conflict was militia fought. British presence in Illinois was strong prior to the Revolution.
We portray the 42nd Highland Regiment, which is commonly known as the Black Watch, from the period of the American Revolution.
Preston Smith and the rest of the group travel to the encampment every year to show off a rich Scottish tradition. The 42nd Regiment served under the British Crown and was sent to the Americas to protect British interests.
There were Highland soldiers that were here for the French and Indian War. There were Highlanders serving throughout North America for that war. Nearly 250,000 people will have walked through the encampment this week, experiencing life as it was. Many of us have grown up with doing this in high school and enjoyed it so much that it's become kind of a lifelong activity for most of us.
It's people like these men and women keeping the rich history of the fort alive. In Massac County, Collin Dorsey, News 3.
Yeah, there was no doubt that it was an arson fire.
Even a new coat of paint and new siding can't hide the pain, death, and destruction that hit the Pyramid Apartments on Carbondale's Rawlings Street December 6, 1992. What investigators immediately called an arson fire killed 5 international students. And now, 25 years later, this coldest of Carbondale cold cases still nags investigator Paul Eccles like a bad dream that never goes away.
There's a leading theory of what happened, but again, without the evidence to prove it, then no arrest can take place.
25 years later, at a memorial ceremony, Carla Copey, who watched the smoldering building, says she can never erase the horrible sight of the charred building and the 5 souls lost that day.
The images, the sights, the smells, the sounds of the immediacy after the fire, and then everything that occurred for the following 2 weeks will be with me for the rest of my life.
With fire blocking the exits, tenants in the Pyramid apartment complex found only one way out: jumping from the 3rd floor windows to the pavement below.
And some unfortunately got trapped and jumped, and those jumping on the south side, unfortunately there was a concrete pad.
Images like those leave lingering questions as to who would, who could set such a fire.
It's hard to understand why someone would want to do that.
Those who witnessed the pyramid fire say 25 years later, their sense of loss feels just as powerful as it did the day of the fire, especially knowing that even now, police have no suspects and fewer leads.
Every day that goes by, there's fewer connection with folks that were here then.
And without evidence, investigators fear this case might continue to languish without any hope of justice done for the 5 lives lost.
In order to close an investigation, you need to make an arrest.
Winters cold enough to freeze lakes solid in southern Illinois are far and few between, and some folks are taking the opportunity to get out on the ice for some fun.
We've done this once before. It was, I think, in 2008 was the last time that we knew it was thick enough and sturdy enough to support all of us to play hockey.
Hockey enthusiasts like Tyson Baker took to Crab Orchard to knock the puck around during this rare opportunity, saying they couldn't resist.
Once we started seeing the forecast was going to be below freezing for about a week or so, we knew we'd have the opportunity and thought New Year's Day would be a good day to do it.
But firefighters like Marion Fire Lieutenant Jim Eskew says ice can be deceiving and is never 100% safe.
Don't trust it. Don't get out on the ice. I mean, I know it's tempting, but you know, kids get out there playing, and next thing you know, they fell through, and then they're in trouble.
Eskew and his crew are trained in ice rescues and have the gear to quickly get someone out of the frigid waters. He says it's all about speed when someone falls through the ice.
We got guys that are getting dressed on the way there. A couple guys in the back be putting their suits on.
The Illinois Department of Natural Resources shows that ice must be at least 4 inches thick to be relatively safe to walk on. Often traveling to play hockey, Tyson and his team know getting on the ice can't be a spur-of-the-moment decision.
We come out here and make sure we drilled the hole in the ice to make sure that it was thick enough, and based on recommendations, they said about 5 inches is plenty thick.
Whether you know what you're doing or not, Eskew says it's best to stay off the ice, and if you do fall through, don't panic.
Try to stay calm. I know you're in that frigid water, you know, it's easy to panic, but, you know, we're going to get our guys out there safely and quickly as possible.
In Williamson County, Collin Dorsey, News 3.
Maybe we'll find him here in a minute. I hope so.
A broken mother and a broken family, standing by waiting for hope and waiting for answers as cadaver dogs and boats equipped with sonar comb the river. Family friend Joe Carmen says the waiting has been the hardest part.
His dad's taking it the best he can, but his mom, she's just been hysterical.
But the family can't give up just yet. His mother, Judy, says after Monday morning, she hopes the search teams will bring her son home.
A guy from Tennessee and a guy from Kentucky was here this morning with a dog, and they had a hint.
Brandy McKee, Sean's cousin and best friend, says things began to look up during the search when his clothes began to show up Monday afternoon.
They took off in the boat and they found where we thought he was this whole time, his jeans and his shorts that wasn't there 10 minutes ago, that just floated to the top.
His mom heartbroken, but she believes her son is okay wherever he is.
He was praying to God. I don't know if he knew something was happening, and just he was. So as far as me knowing where I think he's at, I think he's fine.
Search teams from Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee have all come to the family's aid, bringing them closer to locating Sean's body, hoping to bring the waiting to an end.
But they just want to find him for closure.
So they'll keep searching day by day.
You know, we're going to find him.
In Pulaski County, Collin Dorsey, News 3. When it comes to unloading these massive grain bins, the contents inside can swallow a person in an instant.
You can't move, you can't fight your way out of it. No, it's like quicksand or something, you know, I mean.
Jared Kellerman is one of a family of farmers in Perry County. He and his family farm about 1,500 acres every year. He says he hears about accidents involving grain bins all too often.
Something that we deal with, you know, every year. And I mean, you always hear of somebody that's getting trapped in a grain bin or something like that, and it can happen to anybody. You know, you just got to be careful.
Bins like these hold thousands of bushels of grain, and it only takes a matter of seconds to become dangerous.
You're working against gravity, and you're working against, you know, you ain't got nothing to grab onto. You know, some of our bins have a rope down through the center sometimes. If a guy would happen to get, you can grab on that rope and hold yourself maybe. But, you know, it happened pretty quick.
Kellerman says when you're working on deadlines, sometimes safety isn't at the front of your mind. Now he says it is something he thinks about.
The older you get, the more you stop and think. You know, when I was a little bit younger, didn't have a wife or kids or anything like that, and you just, you know, you stop and think about stuff like that that you want to go home to at the end of the day.
It's recommended when working in grain bins to disconnect the power to the auger and always have someone outside the bin to help in case something happens. Kellerman says thinking before you act can often save a life.
Just be safe. Just use your head. You know, stop and think. Take an extra few minutes and think about what you're getting ready to do.
In Perry County, Collin Dorsey, News 3.